We also request CA Abhishek Murali, Regional Council Member, CA Sumitra, Partner NCR, onto the dais, please. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. He's come all the way from Kanpur to address us. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, ma'am. May we all rise up for the ICA motto song.
Yaesha sukteshu jagrati Yaesha sukteshu jagrati Kamam 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 kamurusho Purusho nirmimanaha nirmimanaha Tadeva shukram Tadeva shukrada brahma Tada brahma Tadeva mritamuchyate Tasmin lokaha Tasmin lokaha Shataha Sarvyatadunatyaryakashjanatyamitashjan Etadvaita 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 Etadvaita.
Thank you. There's no better way to welcome than giving a warm smile. Charming smile is the identity of our youngest regional council member, CA Abhishek Murali. May we now request him to welcome the gathering.
Very warm good evening to one and all present here. Dignitaries on the dais, the speaker for the day, Shri Atmashraddhananda, Shri past chairman of the SIRC, CA Raman, President of the Society of Auditors, CA Ramakrishnan, NC Sumitra ma'am, and Shivkumar sir, the various members of the Society of Auditors, committee members, the partners, the employees, the articles, the students of the firm NCR, and of course we also have Justice Anita Sumant here, who is my guru and has played a very key role in charting my career. It gives me great honor and privilege to give the welcome address on this very special occasion. As we all know, this is a memorial lecture organized by the Society of Auditors, the partners of NC Rajagopalan Co. and the SIRC together, to remember fondly the memory of a doyen of the profession, CA Rajagopal. He has played such a key role in shaping so many professionals of our wonderful profession today, and his role has been so dominant and predominant that he has managed to make an impact in the lives of people, not just in one or two locations, but spread his arms out long and wide across the entire country. There are so many stalwarts today who are his products. His family members continue to bring his great tradition to the profession. His son was a past president of our CA Institute, and going further, they're still contributing regularly to our profession and society in general. One thing that always stands to me is that when it comes to matters of style, you swim with the tide, but when it comes to matters of principles, you stand like a rock. And he was a person who embodied this, and his firm today continues to do that. And that's something which is a testament to something that he has really been unique about. So I will keep this welcome address brief, as we have some excellent speakers lined up for us today. I'd like to once again thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to provide this welcome address. And as part of SIRC, we are very honored I'm proud to have this opportunity to host this memorial lecture. So welcome to everybody, and I wish you a good lectures today. Thank you.
Thank you, C. Abhishek. Every day, every action, we think of you. Keep remembering you in everything we do and paying tribute by living the values you have left behind. Today is the day to pay a formal floral tribute. May I now request the dignitaries and the family members of NCR to pay the formal floral tribute. Thank you all. A senior person, a very friendly personality who had the privilege of meeting the best minds of the world. C.A.G.V. Raman sir, may we request you to share a few words about C.A.N.C. Rajagopalan.
Respected Swamiji, C.A. Ramakrishnan, C.A. Abhishek Murali, C.A. Sumitra, other brothers and sisters in the auditorium. I am very happy that in spite of the very heavy rain, you were able to make it for this meeting. We usually have the Asthana Padagi Sri Vidya, but today unfortunately she has not been able to come. And the women's cricket team has not yet promoted itself to that extent to have a 12th man ready, or a 12th woman ready. So we thought we will stop with the ICII anthem. Of course I requested her to sing, but she was a little afraid that we may have to lock the door. She felt that everybody will run away. But in cricket team there is a 12th man. Today I am the 12th man because my good friend Rangachari has expressed his inability to travel, and therefore Shivakumar, when Shivakumar tells you something you have to obey him. That's a rule here. So Shivakumar telephoned and told me, you better introduce NCR in a few words and also address and give the presidential address. You preside over the function. So that is why as the 12th man I am here. But the 12th man is also important. Not that he accompanies the drinking trolley every time, but also because he carries with him the instructions of the coaches And nowadays you have several coaches. You have a coach, you have a batting coach, you have a fielding coach, you have a mental coach, you have a spiritual coach, and so on and so forth. So all those coaches, what they advise, he comes and conveys to the people, either the batsman or the fielders, depending upon which team he belongs to. So that is why I have been given this privilege and honor of presiding over this function in the place of Mr. Rangachari. Of course, Mr. Rangachari is a past CBDT chairman, past IRDA chairman. I am only a past SARC chairman and nothing more. We are also very happy today to have Swamiji with us, who will speak to us on for a change, because all the time we have been speaking about only accounts, audit, tax, and go on and so forth, most of the lectures. So we have a totally different spiritual basis of Indian culture. So it becomes necessary to remind ourselves at least occasionally about the spiritual part of our culture and also how great it is. And that is why we had people like NCR. NCR was a person who joined A.F. Ferguson Company as a trainee and then became a registered accountant. It used to be called RA, registered accountant. And then when the institute was formed, they made him the JDA and FCA so that he should, by the time he started practice and built up quite a good amount of practice and went on expanding from one place to another. He believed in opening branches at various places, including Merkara and Salem, to start with Erode and other places. And two important things I would like to mention about NCR is, the first one is encouraging youngsters to come up. Identify youngsters who are really interested in the profession, in accountancy or auditing, who have got that passion. Because to be in practice you require that passion. Unless you have that passion, you will not enter practice. So he had that tremendous ability to identify persons like that and take them in his fold. And in course of time, even made them partners. That is one great thing. To give opportunity to youngsters, encourage them, to make them as partners, give them the freedom to do work everywhere. So that's how NCR and company has been built up. And unfortunately, NCS, his son is not able to attend today because of his ill health. Otherwise, we would have had the pleasure and privilege of having him, the past president of our institute, N.C. Sundararaja. And the family had three brothers, I believe. One, of course, NCR, and the other two, one was an advocate, and the other one was in the film line. That's why you will find a lot of film stars who are even today clients of N.C. Rajagopalan company. As a matter of fact, a recent wedding in AVM Rajeshwari, on a lighter vein, I can share with you, my wife is a great fan of Vaijayanti Mala. So, when we attended that wedding that day, we found Vaijayanti Mala was there. So my wife got very excited. She said, Vaijayanti Mala has come. I said, maybe she is their client, you might have come because of that. She said, I would like to go and meet her. I said, okay, go and meet her. She is not going to insult you or anything like that. So she met her, talked to her for a few minutes, and then had a photograph with her. And she was very happy. I told her, Janma Savali, I told her, Vaijayanti Mala oda photo pidichina. So, here that film, perhaps the connection, that is how one of the brothers being in the film industry. And I believe NCR himself was an advisor to many of the directors and producers of films, so that he could. And having established N.T. Rajagopalan Company, today everybody knows N.T. Rajagopalan Company means everybody knows, and most of them know the partners who have been working in that and who have become partners after joining him as apprentice and things like that. It's therefore great that we have a meeting to remember him, remember his services to the profession and the amount of interest he had taken in advancing the profession. That is the most important thing. Because what the profession requires today, in my humble opinion, is a little more publicity. Our PR, I think, is not very good. That's what I have been telling our presidents and past presidents, everyone. I think we should have more publicity as to what exactly we are doing. See, the normal person outside does not have much idea about what an auditor does and what it means to audit and how difficult it is to audit nowadays, especially with so many acts, so many statutes which have to be referred to and which may affect that particular business, and the amount of confusion that is prevailing with everything going to the High Court and Supreme Court and so on. So naturally we should tell them exactly what this profession represents and what amount of work is being done by them when they do a particular company audit or something. What is the amount of work that they have to do? What amount of preparation they should have for doing that audit? It's very easy, and immediately they say, arrest the auditor. Auditor is responsible for everything. Auditor is not God. He is not a miracle worker. He can't find out everything. And generally people who are criminally minded are much more intelligent than us. So it's very difficult to find out. And an auditor is not supposed to approach with suspicion. He is supposed to have suspicion only when there is indication that the suspicion should be there or investigation should be there. These aspects, I am sure, I feel, have not been brought forth to the public at large. So we should, I think, even at the school or college levels, organize meetings where we can explain to them not only why they should join the CA course, but telling them what exactly happens and what exact work auditors do, either representing before tax authorities or in the tribunals or before doing the audit itself. So I think that is one aspect which is required. Of course, let me not stand between you and the lecture we are going to have, because it is some subject which I am sure all of us would love to listen to, and then try to find out, imbibe what little we can out of that, so that we can try to be a better person than what we are today. So tomorrow morning, let us try to at least imbibe something about what Swami says today, so that we will be a better person tomorrow morning than what we are today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. This is the advantage when G.V. Raman sir talks to us. He always shares the untold, what Wikipedia and Google cannot tell us. Thank you so much, sir. May we now request C.S. Ramakrishnan, President, Society of Auditors, to introduce our chief guest for the day.
Good evening all. A very pleasant evening. Bhagavan Shri Ramakrishna used to say, as long as I live, so long do I learn. He was revered as a very great teacher, but he always believed in interacting with a lot of pundits and scholars all his lifetime to share views and enrich knowledge. I think that is very relevant today to us chartered accountants, because we also got a need of updating our knowledge. That should continue as long as we are alive. Throughout our life as chartered accountants, we need to keep on learning and updating ourselves. It's very appropriate today. We have got a senior monk of the Ramakrishna order to deliver the lecture today evening. Swami Atmashraddhananda joined the monastic order in 1989 and became a sannyas in 1999. He was basically from Bangalore. He had served in various centers of the Mutt mission, and he has been in Chennai also from 2004 to 2016 as editor of Vedanta Kesari, which is started a long time back. And he has also translated a lot of books. And he is not only a prolific writer, but he is also a captivating speaker. And for 12 years, he was the guide for the Vivekananda study circle and IIT Madras, which is very popular, I have heard myself. He was also in the Probationers Training Center, where they train the future monks of the Ramakrishna order in Kolkata. Presently, Swamiji is the secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama in Kanpur. He is also still is having touch with IIT. He conducts weekly meditation class at Kanpur. So we are really blessed to have him today amongst us to speak on spiritual basis of Indian culture. Swami Atmashraddhananda.
May we request C. Abhishek Murali to present a shawl to our chief guest. This era, we are actually in search of the Indian culture itself. It definitely would be an enlightenment to know the basis of, the spiritual basis of the Indian culture.
I shall begin with a prayer. It is from the Upanishads. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Dear Shri Raman Sir, Shri Ramakrishnan, Shri Shiv Kumar Ji, Abhishek, and Mrs. Sumitra Ji, and in the audience, those who are known to me, they are Mr. Kumar and the students from IIT Madras, and those who are studying the CA, and Karthik, my good old friend from the Madras Music Group, as well as the CA. My greetings to all of you. I'm very happy to be present here, to be invited to share with you a few thoughts on how, as Indians, as those who are born on this sacred motherland of ours, we should discover our roots which are basically spiritual. So, next couple of minutes I'll share with you some ideas on spiritual basis of Indian culture. To begin with, I was very happy to hear the prayer which was played at the beginning, which is from the Kathopanishad, and it speaks of how the divine present in all of us assumes this body, and sitting there, it weaves, it creates, it generates different forms of life all around it. So I was told that this is what is played all over, and this is a general prayer for all CA functions. I am very happy to note this. Even before I take up the subject more seriously, a few general remarks and then I'll proceed. First, we heard about the chartered accountancy and the challenges involved, and I fully agree to it. With our little experience, I must mention here that Swami Vivekananda, when he started the Ramakrishna mission way back 120 years in 1897, he laid very strict principles about accounting of money in the Ramakrishna mission. He said this way, he said the money which is used for salt should not be used, or money to be used for salt should not be used for purchasing vegetables. This is actually a translation of a traditional Bengali saying. So he was very insistent that whatever money comes, it should be accounted, and how the money is spent should be accounted, and all the best practices must be adopted. And we are very fortunate in all this 120 years, it has been going on like that. We have in the mission itself, we have our own audit section at Belur Mutt, and which is headed by 2 or 3 monks who themselves have got their professional training as CAs. Again, Swamiji was, sometimes in his letters you will find written from America that he mentions how he has spent his money. He has given an account. There is a letter in the 9th volume of the Complete Works where he gives an account of that this much money was given to me and this is how I spent it. So this speaks of his great dedication to the principle of honesty and the principle of accountability, which is very important to remember in today's days. The subject that we have, if I have to analyze the subject itself, it is spiritual basis of Indian culture. As part of what I am going to share with you, we have 2 articles from the Vedanta Kesari, which have been printed and given to all of you, which one of them is actually titled like that, the spiritual basis of Dharma is the spiritual basis of Indian culture. So even if something is missed out when I am speaking, you can always refer to what has been printed and being distributed. What is most specific feature of human beings? There are things which separate us from animals, which make us very distinct from other living beings. The one characteristic in all human beings is their infinite desire for self-improvement. No human being seems to sit satisfied with whatever he has. One of our monks, he used to put it very humorously. He used to say, have you ever seen a dog wanting to become a great dog? Or an elephant seeking excellence in life? They are dog and they are elephants. We can train them. We can from our side give them certain training to improve their performance. But inherent in them, you will find very little of that. But in human beings, there is constant desire for self-improvement. So we seem to lack something. We always want to upgrade ourselves, update ourselves in some way or the other. In other sense, all of us are born with something which seems insufficient. Let us take it through an example. We are using the term Samskriti in Sanskrit. Samskriti. Now the term Samskriti, meaning culture, comes from a root called Kri. Samskrita, so Kri. You take out the root called Kri. Kri means that which you do or that which exists. Let us call it as Prakriti. Prakriti which is a primordial or primary condition of something. Let's say there is a piece of stone. We call it as Prakriti. It is given by the nature. It is Prakriti. This Prakriti needs to be worked upon. Why? Because there is an inherent desire for improvement. So we take up a piece of stone, which is Prakriti, and work upon it, remove many of the things which are dross, which seem not necessary from our understanding and perception, and when we remove that, we have an inherent sense of beauty endowed by God, and we come up with a beautiful statue of, let's say, Lord Ganesha. That is called Samskriti, to refine something. This Samskriti can also fall in the hands of people who are very gross. So that is called Vikriti. They just demolish it or deface it. You go to many of the places, including Mahabalipuram, and you would find some slogans most irrelevant to that monument written on the walls. And this is the story of all our monuments across India. People take pleasure in becoming immortal by writing there. Somebody has interest in somebody, they write there. That is called Vikriti, that is not Samskriti. Samskriti is when you take pleasure in refining something. Like it is not just stone, it could be a piece of wood, or it could be even things like you have got sugarcane juice. That is Prakriti. You work on it, you refine it, you set up a big sugar factory, and you come up with the jaggery, molasses, and then sugar. That is all taking up the dross out and creating the Samskriti. So this is one characteristic of human beings, that we want Samskriti. Now why do we want Samskriti? Because it is said that, now this is a statement based on the experience of those people who lived in the beginning of India, and we call them rishis. The beginning of our culture, thousands of years back, where the history does not know how to record those things because history recording started much later. Suppose something has not been recorded, it does not mean it did not exist. It still exists, but it has not been recorded. So there was a time, in fact, when Swami Vivekananda went to the West, he was asked this question. Well, you speak about the rishis. Where were they when? Where were they? Why did they not come to England? So Swamiji smiled at them and said, when they existed, where was England? Look at your own history. There were people who had covered themselves with blue material on which worms crawled. This is there in the English history. So the point is not to denigrate anybody, only to say that there was a time which is called the dawn of human civilization, where people lived in our country who, for we don't know which reason, they devoted their whole life to a quest called inner quest. And they discovered through their meditation, through their deep reflection, through living a very disciplined life, they discovered certain truths. And one such truth was that man is essentially divine, man is essentially perfect, but, this but is very important, but he has somewhere got into a state of imperfection, a state of not feeling that he is divine, and he is trying to now regain that. That process of regaining is what is called samskriti. His own divine nature he wants to express, his own perfection he wants to reach. So he goes on refining himself, refining his character, refining his behavior, refining the human life itself, and through that discover his own divine nature. This is why human beings are intensely hungry after self-improvement, self-change, self-transformation, self-perfection. We want to attain that. Why? Why there is an infinite desire? See, Acharya Shankara, in his famous commentary on the Upanishad, the Kathopanishad, he says, Upari Upari Sarve Jana Bhabuva, that all want to progress above, they want to go above. So, one of our great monks, Swami Ranganathanji Maharaj, used to say that a person who is a clerk, he wants to become an officer, and an officer wants to become first class officer, and it goes on and on. And even at that level they are trying to progress, but whether they get perfection at that level just by seeking, by getting a post, that's the issue. So one has to progress inwardly in order to really attain what he is actually seeking. So these rishis found that, based on their mystic experience, that man is divine. And when Swami Vivekananda went to the West and stood before that audience in Chicago, he made this declaration, which came as a thunderbolt before the people who heard it. And that thing was, he said, Shunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putra, which means, O children of immortality, Amritasya Putra, Shunvantu, listen to you, listen to me. I am going to declare a truth to you. This was a sentence from the Upanishad called Shvetashvatar Upanishad. And there Swamiji says, I refuse to call you a sinner. I refuse to call you somebody who is essentially bad. I call you as children of immortal bliss. And when Swamiji said this, this statement was based on his own experience. That is why we find it had an electrifying effect on those who heard it. So this particular experience, this statement of divinity of man, led to a further formulation of whole philosophy. Swamiji said that man has got, when he is making a search into the infinite, a search into perfection, a search into becoming great. So this search he called it as a religion. So it's so very different from what we think as religion is. Religion means Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or some other religion. No. Swami made a very different statement. And this is not his only original statement, this is from the Upanishads. And the Upanishads say that man is essentially divine, and this struggle that is happening to regain our divinity, to regain our infinite possibilities, this is called religion, and the religion, generally speaking, expresses in 3 or 4 ways. One is this mystic experience which I just referred to. Then we have the philosophical framework which is built based on that experience. Then you have the stories or mythology which illustrate these principles. The stories, in fact, for instance, you have got the principle that India's, the famous motto, Satyameva Jayate. It is from the Mundaka Upanishad. This Mundaka Upanishad statement is illustrated through the story of Harishchandra, or Rama's life, or any of the other great people whom we inherit in our country, in our literature. Or in Mahabharata you hear so many stories, hundreds of stories, how there is a fight between truth and untruth, and how finally the truth wins. So the stories illustrate these principles. And then you have certain concrete forms. These concrete forms that we see around us, the rituals, the architecture, the art forms, the way we carry on our life around us. So we all live in a culture. Culture is the basis of our life. Any person has got culture, but then how much refined that culture is, that matters. So culture keeps progressing, so to say. So there are people who are highly, tribal cultures. We cannot say they are bad. We can only say that they are at one stage of their growth, and we respect it. When we speak that divinity is present everywhere, and this is our real nature, we go to this extent. Suppose there is this man who doesn't know all this Vedanta, he doesn't understand this all, what we are discussing. He simply goes on the roadside, sees a stone of peace, a round stone of peace. Principle is clear to him, that divinity is present everywhere. So he just takes a piece of stone, and this you will find in many places in India. They just put vermilion on that and start worshipping it. Because that's his capacity. He has not progressed further. So Swami makes a mention that from the highest flights of Vedanta to the lowest form of a worship, everything is under this Indian culture. So Indian culture is not only very refined forms, even the primary forms, not so very refined forms, are also part of the Indian culture. Because man travels from truth to truth, from lower truth to higher truth. It does not travel from error to truth, but from truth to truth, lower truth to higher truth. So right now somebody may be very much engaged in lower truth, then as he progresses, like a child. Now for child, what is very important is his toys. Most important things are which we think are very childish, like he's busy with the ice cream, he's busy with playing with the toys. The other day there was a picture which was doing round on the WhatsApp of a little baby whose both the legs had been, it had some fracture and they had to be plastered, and they were hung like this because the child was busy lying down, and next to it was its doll. It was written there that the baby said that before its legs are plastered, that doll's legs also must be plastered. And the doctors had that sensitivity to first do that. They put the plaster on those the child's doll, their legs, and then put the plaster on the babies. So at that level a person is. The same person, when he grows up, he looks back and smiles. Oh, I was so much small in my understanding. So man grows. we make a progress. We start from one level and go to another level. We make it's a journey that we make. So human beings need this reformation, self-reformation, which is expressing through different forms of culture, different forms of lives, various fields. So we have this Indian culture, where we find the basic principle that has been discovered, that we are all divine. Then the second basic principle which they found, which is expressing itself, is that whole thing operates on some universal cosmic principles. You cannot really violate them. Just as you cannot violate the law of gravitation. You cannot say, I have got all the freedom. You don't have all the freedom. You cannot jump from the first floor or second floor or third floor and then say, I have all the freedom. No, you don't have the freedom. There you are in the gravitational force. Similarly, as impersonal and universal these laws are, likewise, there are certain laws which are pervading our life. The rishis called these laws as dharma. Dharma stands for that cosmic order which is at the basis of our life. They saw there is an order everywhere. There is winter, there is summer, there is spring, there is day and night, there is order in the Prakriti. So there must be an order inside also, the way we carry on our life. So they found that unless you respect your parents, unless you respect the guest, unless you respect your teacher, you are not going to be part of that order. So they said, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. So Atithi Devo Bhava, you have this beautiful statement from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Now this was the principle. Now if you see its concrete form, how it has been put. So when a guest comes in India, it is part of the tourism industry, so you have the upacharas. These upacharas are, you show him the deepam, you give him the naivedyam, you offer him flower, you offer him the padhyam, you wash his feet. Why? Because there is this philosophy that Atithi Devo Bhava. Then you have got, similarly you have got Acharya Devo, respect the teacher. So we began this function by paying our respect to a great teacher. And we are having this memorial lecture in the honor of a great teacher. So remembering the teacher, it is part of the human culture that we are grateful, we are having gratitude towards those who have given us something. Actually, today's world, I had the occasion of listening to a few talks by some learned people and read a few books on the progress that has been made in the field of neuroscience. My knowledge is very limited, but I found one very interesting thing. What I found was that the more a person is grateful towards life, the more positive he remains. Grateful to the world. Are we grateful that we are alive? Do you think, no, it's okay, we are all alive, what's so big about it? Please go to any hospital nearby. You will see what it means. We got up in the morning. How wonderful that we got up in the morning, because many did not get up. And there is a possibility many tomorrow will not get up. So this sense of gratefulness has to be cultivated. Again, you have this Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. Years ago, we had a young man who hailed from Chennai. So he was working in a Western country for a long time. He worked there as a part of a hospital system there. He had come on a visit. He shared an experience. He said, it's very interesting, but I'll tell you to make it very short. He said that the small country, some Scandinavian country, where he lived, he said there was a very interesting thing that happened. What is that? That there was some war which took away a large number of population, which means there was a lot of casualty. So the country as if became depopulated. In order to bring back the balance, the government kind of decided and announced that people can have children and don't worry about how do you bring them about. You bring them up. We will take care. The government will take care of the children. And there was a population boom. And interestingly, the children were as if kind of handed over to those institutions which has been set up to look after the children. Now what happened? This looked okay. This looked that state is playing an important role in the social development, family development and all that. But then what happened was, these children when they grew up, most of them had psychological problems. They were violent. They lacked a sense of understanding. Then they made their own their study. And the study was this. The result of the study was this. That these children, although they got all the physical things that we have, they were not deprived of food, they were not deprived of a good living place, or even there was a maid to look after. But the problem was, these maids were shifted after some time. They had their posting, you see, they were transferred. So as these children grew up, they had no emotional bonding. You cannot replace mother after all. You can't replace father after all with a maid servant. So they had no emotional bonding, and the result was, in due course, they developed a sense of insecurity, which expressed itself in the form of violence. Then at that moment, when you are hearing this young man expressing his experience, we remembered the Taittiriya Upanishad, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. They gave one more idea from their study, and that was that there is something in the child's development which happens only if he has got love received from an elder, unconditional love. The brain's some portion starts operative only when he receives unconditional love. It is not sufficient to give him food. It's not sufficient to give him physical facilities. That happens only if that love is given. That is why our language is spiritual, our language is religious. We said Matru Devo Bhava. We did not use the medical language. But what we are trying to say is the same thing. So, we have our culture, the Indian culture spoke of the development of the self. This spirituality, I asked this question to some of our young friends. So, what do you understand by spirituality? You ask any of the people. In fact, if some of you go outside India, one thing which they admire about Indians, besides their intelligence, besides their spelling bees, great performance and other things, they admire is the Indians' capacity to be spiritual. At least they think Indians are very spiritual. Swami Vivekananda, during his travels in India, he found one thing. He said that man is, in India, the human beings are somehow very much connected with religion. He said religion is somewhere playing an extraordinary role in the lives of the human being. It's almost like the vitality of it. No, religion not in terms of fighting, not in terms of all the vote bank politics, not in that. We are speaking of how religion has been misused by different people in different ways. But what we are speaking about, that essential wanting to know our own divine nature, our own infinite nature. We may not be able to state it in this way, we may not use these words, we may not have these expressions, doesn't matter. But this is what the thing is happening. So if you ask a young man what is spirituality, well, one way, go to a temple or a mosque or a church or somewhere for my belief system, a place of worship. Is going to temple is all about spirituality. According to the Indian tradition itself, going to temple is like, Swamiji used to say, like going to a kindergarten. It's not to berate the temples. It's only to say that we need form. We are children in the spirit of, in the word of spirit. We are children. We cannot think of that big abstract forms, so we are given concrete forms. Suppose any of you come to the Ramakrishna Mutt in Mylapore, we have evening ritual called Arati. All of us know the Arati, but evening ritual Arati that is done there is very particularly, it is designed by Swami Vivekananda. So there you see the image which is honored. The presence of God is honored through Arati. So how it is honored? You see a monk, he is holding a lighted lamp and waving around the image of Shri Ramakrishna. Then afterwards he keeps it down and then he takes a shankha, having some water, and he pours the water a few times during the waving process. Then again he takes up a little while, he takes up a piece of cloth. He again after he waves, he keeps it down. Again he takes up a flower, and finally he takes up a chamara, that thing which is used for fanning, a kind of a fan. So now if you look at this concrete ritual, if you look deeper, you will find this is an expression of the Indian idea that the whole world is made of 5 elements. Panchatattvas. So first I take the fire element and I offer to the Lord. Then that is the form of Deepam. Then I take the water element and offer it to the Lord. At the end and further, I take up a piece of cloth which represents sky. You see, the sky is that which covers. So it is an Indian intelligence, the genius. So cloth covers. So cloth becomes a representative of the sky. Then you have got the flower. In the Upanishad it comes Gandha Tattvam Prithivya. So from the Prithvi comes the Gandha Tattva. So Prithvi, Tattva is represented by a flower. And finally, the air element. After offering all these ritually, the person who does puja, he bows down, offering himself to the Lord fully. He has surrendered himself to the Lord. This is a way of worshipping the Lord. You see how there is a philosophy behind the ritual. And this philosophy is what when we combine with practice, this is what we call as spirituality. This deepest philosophy of the divinity of man and this deepest philosophy of our own divine nature and what we are seeing outside as an abstract something, or we see a concrete something, the divinity in that, when it is put together and it is practiced, become nearer and nearer to our own divine nature. Of course, divine nature is not to be just think in terms of, some people say, I believe in spiritualism. The word spiritualism actually means you believe in ghosts. Well, ghosts, they have according to the Indian system of thinking, yes, they have some existence, but it's not the highest existence. Some people take pride. I have seen a ghost. Brother, there is nothing great about it. Until you have known your own divine nature, which is beyond the ghost existence, you have not done something wonderful or great. So, discovering our divine nature is what is important. One other aspect of the spiritual basis of our culture is when we see that respect. Respect is one essential feature which manifests itself if you believe in dharma, you believe in the divinity that is in man, divinity that is in human beings. There's a famous Sanskrit verse which says, Anaushadham moolam nasti, amantram aksharam nasti, ayogyam purusham nasti, yojakaha tatra durlabha. Yojaka is very difficult. But other three, let us make it very clear. What it says is Anaushadam moolam nasti. There is no moolam, no root, which does not have a medicinal value. At the moment I do not know, but it is there. So there was a time when nobody spoke of certain things which are very useful for diabetes today. They said, this is all like, bitter ash or bitter gourd. The bitter gourd, oh, it's okay, but now it comes in the tablet forms. So there is some kind of medicinal value in everything, but we do not know. At the moment we do not know, because as it is said, what is science? Science is a journey after truth, the external truth, the truth that we are discovering from place to place. So today the science has reached this journey. It has discovered medicinal value in these things. Similarly, you have got the next, amantram aksharam nasti. There is no akshara, no syllable, which does not have the power of mantra. In a lighter sense, there was this teacher who was teaching, coaching in a coaching center, and his passing out kind of a program was there. Those students who had done well and they were going. So one student got up, he was asked to share his experience. He said, one thing that I remember about my teacher is his encouragement. He used to say only one thing: yes, you can. As simple as this, yes, you can. That became a mantra for him. So in that he went on inspiring himself by saying, yes, I can, yes, I can. That is what is said, that amantram shabdam nasti. Every shabda has got some power. Ayogyam purusham nasti. There is no one who is ayogya, absolutely useless. Maybe if he is not useful in CA or in BA or somewhere else, at least he can become a PA. Somewhere you have got some use. Everybody has got the sense of value we must have. So that discovering our sense of value is what is known as yojakaha. Yojakaha tatra durlabha. One who can take out, if you know the story of Chanakya, he was the Chanakya and the Maurya. He was a small boy, Maurya was a small boy, and Chanakya spotted in him his great talent, and he saw that Maurya Gupta, how he comes up. He was the son of a shepherd. He is not born in a big family with lot of possibilities. So this kind of teacher, this kind of discoverer is very important. We spoke of divinity, we spoke of dharma, we spoke of respect, we spoke of 5 elements. One more thing let us now discuss. That is, human beings, one big question before all of us is that where do we all come from? I'm not speaking of the biological process. Speaking of what is our source from where we all come. Now this has been a question asked by all great teachers and philosophers, and we do not know how many more people are going to ask this question. Where do we come from? And what is going to happen after our journey is over? And we all know our journey is going to end one day. So this question was asked in our culture. And they were not satisfied by saying, okay, we do not know from where we come from. All right. And they didn't have a Google to search, you see. They didn't try to find it only through some Wikipedia article or some blog. They started meditating. So meditation is a hallmark of Indian culture. It is said in the earliest seals that are found, you have a meditative man there. In the Harappa side, when you find meditation piece, that figure is found in the seals, which means it is as old as that. Even among the Christian traditions, it is said that it is believed that meditation came from India. Somehow, the Indian mind always wanted to meditate and find the answer inside. So they began to meditate. And this meditation was not a 5-minute meditation or one-day meditation. It was a life dedicated, it was a full-time job. It was not a part-time job. Okay, I'll meditate in this and then it will relax my mind, then I will do something else. Well, that's all right for us, but not for those people who were fully given to it. And they had absolutely no fear, and they did not seek any favor from anybody. They did this because they were seekers. And the result was, after years and years of such, discovery or such inner journey, they arrived at certain conclusions. And around 2000 years back, so our country did not start in 1947, you must know this. Some 2000 years back, even before I go further, let me just make a mention. Swami Vivekananda went to the West. He went to take part in an event which was meant to celebrate 400th year of discovery of America, which is difficult again for Indians to understand. To say that 400 years back India was discovered, it has existed for thousands of years. So around 2000 years back, a man called Patanjali, he compiled and systematized these researches. And that is what we call as yoga. We have the International Yoga Day today, in today's world. It started a few years back. But yoga did not begin with that. Yoga has existed for 2000 years back. There we have this great Rishi Patanjali who systematized these researches. And the first thing he said is that man, his mind is very restless. So let first of all calm his mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That is the meaning of yoga. And what about the Hatha Yoga? What about the asanas? They are only meant to help you to discover that inner peace. So we had this idea, chitta vritti nirodha. We often stop there. But there are other verses. There is one verse which says that when a man, very second or third verse, the sutra, it says that when man's mind becomes very quiet, he discovers an extraordinary truth about himself. And that truth is that he has become identified with the changing phenomena, events, people, things in the world. That is why he is feeling so much disturbed. If he can disidentify himself with that, he will discover his divine nature, which is full of peace and divinity. This is one of the sutras given there. Fourth or fifth sutra. So yoga has become part of the Indian culture. So this same thing has been applied in different fields of our life. Like in health, we have this application of yoga. We have Ayurveda. We have this idea of refinement being applied in art forms, different forms, as we have in Tamil Nadu, such beautiful art forms. One of our monks used to say, Tamil Nadu should be renamed. Why? There are so many temples here, we must call it as Temple Nadu. Nowhere else in India we have such magnificent temples as we have here. So we have one form of things here. Then we have the art form which has developed in Madhubani in Bihar. Recently the Madhubani ladies in Bihar, they painted their whole Madhubani station with their painting. And the Japanese government happened to see that and they were so impressed, they invited them to paint some of their stations. So it has grown, so much of freedom is given. Madhubani form or the Madurai form or the Bengal school of architecture and beauty. Now if you go further, one important truth on which the Indian culture stands is a Rigvedic statement which says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. Truth is one, but the learned people call it by different names. Truth is one. Swami Vivekananda, during his lectures from Colombo to Almora, made a statement. He said, it was this historic great discovery which changed the course of Indian thought and Indian history. This thing which made us accept and love each other. And accept each other in a spirit of, yes, it is the same truth which is manifested in different ways. It's like this, Shri Ramakrishna used to say, suppose you have got a pond and there is somebody who knows English. He goes and picks up that liquid there and he calls it as water. Somebody who knows Tamil, he goes in Tanni. Somebody else who goes from Hindi area, he calls it Pani. Somebody comes from Bengal and he calls it Jal. Somebody else comes from some other area and makes it still a different name. Has it made any difference? It's the same liquid. The same way, the truth that human beings are seeking is same. But the names, the expressions, their way of stating it, they're all different. So this is one thing which is the very basis of Indian culture, that is Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. Now before I close, a few more things and then we'll give a stop to this discussion. That is, man is, we said, essentially divine. We said that he has this hunger for self-improvement. We say that he is seeking perfection, which is, all this is finding expression in the culture that he practices in his life, that has the culture which consists of behavior, which consists of cultural forms, like somebody comes to your house, how do you treat him, how do you offer him a seat, how do you get up and respect him, all that is happening is a way of, is a journey. A man is trying to live his own, trying to refine himself. But comes a question. We said he is divine, but that sounds too very big, that he is divine. At least we think we have this body. So they investigated further. They said, actually man has got 3 bodies. First they call it as a gross body, Sthula Sharira. Then they said within this Sthula Sharira, which all of us have got, and all doctors are meant for that, for this gross body. All our gyms and all our whole civilization is dedicated, whole industries are dedicated to this Sthula Sharira. Then, but he said this is not everything. Just as there is a Sthula Sharira, there is a deeper thing in that, it's called the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. And subtle body consists of memory, it consists of our subtle perceptions, all samskaras. So samskriti and samskaras, again we must remember that. Samskaras is the refined habits. Of course, any habit could be samskara, but specifically saying refined habits, good samskaras. So samskriti means good samskaras. So this refined body, which means our own subtle body, which does not die with the death of the gross body. It, as if, is in searching for, it's searching for a situation, a circumstance, an ambience, a people, where it can continue its journey. That is how we find there's a difference in human beings. Although we have same bodies, we are all having the same, human, we are Homo sapiens, but there's so much of difference in human beings. How do you account for it? They said it is all because we leave the gross body at the time of leaving the body, when we call it death, but we carry this subtle body to the next body. Again we are reborn, where we continue our struggle. So a person may have started, and they may look, say there are 4 siblings in a family, but all of them will have different natures. Why? Because they had their own journey, their previous journey. They have come to this point. Again, they may continue. They may reach the destination, or they may not continue. They may again take another body. May again take another body. And even behind that is the causal body. So all these subtle truths were discovered about the human beings. So this expression of the divine in us, which is made itself manifest through this body-mind complex, that is life. So refine this. The more you refine a human being, the more cultured he becomes. He expresses a divine nature in small little things. So culture, let's make it a point in our mind very clearly, that culture is different. It is a very rather basis of civilization. What we see as civilization, beautiful roads, beautiful buildings, and all the material development, that's wonderful. But that's not all about culture, that's a civilizational growth. and it's required, but the very source of it is culture. So this culture is more refined part of our being. So you have the cultural development. So today there is a craze for Indian culture in the West. It is because they see the refinement that is present here. The great Anand Kumar Swami of Sri Lanka, he used to say, we should respect Indian culture not because it is Indian, but because it is culture. Because it is culture, it means refinement. It means there has been so much of inner development. So these all ideas I have presented before you. I'm sure this will give you some impetus to read more about Indian culture. And I would suggest those who are having any serious interest in that to take up a 7-volume book called The Cultural Heritage of India. It was published long back from first or 2 volumes were published in 1930s, and then further volumes have come up. It is published from Ramakrishna Institute of Culture in Calcutta. Now I think it is in 7 volumes, or 8th volume is incoming. So that is a very authentic book, giving you in a much more detailed way an idea of what this great culture which has existed for thousands of years, what it has to offer to us in modern times, in today's times when we are all living in a digital world, a fast world, a world which is having so many pressures, we have so many deadlines to attend to. What this culture can give us in today's world, how we can carry this life without forgetting those roots is very important. Those who are not having that much of a very serious time availability, or they find their interest is only at the beginning level, I could suggest you a couple of books. Again, one interesting book is called Indian Culture, its timeless appeal and charmless or ageless charm. It is published from the Chennai Ramakrishna Mutt. There you will find a very handy introduction as to what is Indian culture with all these concepts and much more than this. Like we have one whole section on imprints of Indian culture in our day-to-day life. Like I refer to the ritual of Arati and how it is connected to the basic idea. And there are many more such things. So these are a few ideas about how we can understand the spiritual basis of Indian culture. One final thing we must remember, if we are saying Indian culture and its spiritual basis, please remember the basis is Dharma. Dharma means that cosmic principle which keeps the whole world integrated. It prevents us from disintegration. Dharayate iti dharma akhyavuhu, Mahabharata says. The dharma is not a set of beliefs which I may believe or I may not believe. It's not that way. It is the basis of life. Just as I may believe that whether I breathe or not, but I have to breathe. So it's the very basis of our life. So without dharma, life cannot go on. Only we should be aware of it. The more we understand that, the more you will find sense of responsibility, a sense of honesty will come into our life, and how this will finally bring to us a sense of inner peace and inner joy. Thank you very much. My thanks to all of you for your patient hearing, and my thanks to Shiv Kumar for inviting me, and all of you to have welcomed me and given such a wonderful opportunity of sharing these ideas. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Truly an enlightening, memorable memorial lecture. It didn't really seem like it was an hour's time. So interesting and informative. Prakriti, Sanskriti, Vikriti, the reality of life. Panchatatvas and Arti, leading to Saranagati, the secret of the undiscovered, the Yojaka, the hidden marvel of the universe. Unconditional love and power of Shabda as essential ingredients for perfect well-being. Chitta Vritti, calmness, disidentifying oneself from the word to discover the divine. Origin of life, Ekam Sat, the journey towards Ekam Sat, the journey towards sanskaras, the redefined, improved culture life of our eternal body. Thanks for enlightening us on the culture, redefining ourselves with dharma, the basis of life. We would like to see you again in Temple Nadu, sir.
Okay. Swamiji has given the lecture and the two articles have been printed. So I request the Swamiji himself to give the very first copy to our special guest today, Anita Sumant. Alright. Copies can be distributed. And on the memento, may now request Mr. H.C. Prabhakar to give a memento to the Swamiji. No. Book. Second. Yeah. Thank you. This memorial lecture I have been planning, I have been rather requesting the partner of Mr. N.C. Rajagopalan Anantaraman for so many years. And let me tell you friends, this is the first ever N.C. Rajagopal memorial lecture. Okay, and I thank the N.C. Rajagopal company for this. And I do hope that I will continue this lecture at least after 8 years. So please, Sumitra, you should take it up. Okay. Many people will remember N.C. Rajagopalan on this. Okay. So we have other memorial lectures where we've been continuously doing. So this I have been planning. So I am really grateful to the firm for coming forward to accept it, because this is a centenary of this Shri Swami. We have the research. So that's the reason I wanted the memorial lecture to be given. Okay. So in order to honor the firm, where I have very close connection to N.C. Sundarajan, I used to work for him in the elections. Okay, it was wonderful and a very fine gentleman. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it. So on behalf of the firm, I request Mr. N.C. Gopal Ratnam to present the memento to the firm. And please. Yes, I request Shri Raman to give the same. Swamiji is very sick. Yeah. Mr. Gopalakrishnan will give a small contribution to the. Yeah, Mr. Gopalakrishnan will hand over the contribution to your firm. And if you give it or your company gives, no problem at all. This is a small contribution to the Ramakrishna Mission Kanpur. And I spoke to Swamiji some time back. He was telling me that this ashrama has been quite difficult to find, and then I myself volunteered. What is the problem? So I said, financial said, well, we can do something. So a small fund I just collected. So on behalf of the Society of Auditors, we are going to give a small contribution of rupees 25,000 to Ramakrishna company. It's an open check, no cover. And I'm very happy to announce that on behalf of the D. Rangaswamy Academy for Physical Research, we are creating an endowment in the name of Shri Rangaswamy, the corpus amount is 1 lakh. The interest of it can be utilized by the Swamiji for education activities. I request, sir, I will give, if you don't mind, Shri Raman, I can give it. That's all.
May I now request ANC Sumitra to propose the vote of thanks.
Before that, memento to is okay. What Subhashini, right? Swamiji will give. One of the book is Swamiji is what you have written. It was Vedanta culture, Indian culture.
Our respected eminent speaker, Swami Atmashraddhananda, our esteemed senior Shri C.A. G.V. Raman, President, D. Rangaswamy Academy for Physical Research, Shri C.A. S. Ramakrishnan, President, the Society of Auditors, and our Honorable Justice Anita K. Suman, C.A. Kara Shivakumar sir, and my friend's son, C.A. Abhishek Murali, Regional Council Member, SIRC, respected seniors in the profession, our fellow members, my seniors of N.C. Rajagopalan Co., ladies and gentlemen who are present here. We, the members of N.C. Rajagopalan Company and the family members of late Shri N.C. Rajagopal, sincerely express our heartfelt happiness and thanks for the eminent presence of this gathering. Our special thanks to our chief guest Swami Atmashraddhananda, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, for taking the time to come all the way from Kanpur for giving us excellent and thought-provoking memorial lecture on spiritual basis of Indian culture, which every human being must follow. I am sure all present here would be benefited by this wonderful lecture. Our sincere thanks to Shri Abhishek Murali, Regional Council Member, SIRC. Our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed and respected seniors, Shri C.A. G.V. Raman, President D. Rangaswamy Academy for Physical Research, for kind enough to give a speech about my grandfather and my senior in profession, late Shri N.C. Rajagopal. Our special thanks to Mr. C.A. S. Ramakrishnan, President, Society of Auditors, and Shri C.A. Kara Shivakumar sir, who was instrumental in arranging this lecture. I once again thank you all for making this gathering a memorable one. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May we all rise up to the national anthem.